Hi everyone, welcome back to the Earthdawn Survival Guide. We assume you're coming back because this really should not be your first episode, but anyway. This is a podcast for Earthdawn fans, disciplines, paths, players, game masters. I am, of course, Dan. My co-host is, of course, Josh.
Hi everybody.
And on today's podcast, we will be discussing all things thaumaturgical and extraplanar, because we are going to talk about Nethermancers in detail.
Why you have to go fancy? You could just say all things spooky.
Because it's my shtick. But yes, all things creepy, crawly, spooky, and weird. Because we actually have an expert here. A, Josh is the line developer, and B, Josh is actually...
I am a developer.
Fair.
We have a team.
Yes, and is also running a troll Nethermancer in the Legends of Earthdawn podcast.
Yes.
So you've got firsthand experience to throw our way.
I have recent experience, as opposed to most of the other stuff where it's
5 years
direct
old.
play. Yeah, we're still going. We had a big chunk of downtime in our session this past Monday, and Virag is 7th circle.
Woo! Nicely done. So yeah, go get caught up on those. I'm actually going back and starting from the beginning on those. I'm up to 14 again, so I'm playing catch up. But otherwise, if you have any questions for us today about what we're going to talk about tonight on this in here podcast, please feel free to email us at edsgpodcast@gmail.com. And otherwise, we will get into the thick of things here and talk about Nethermancers and all things spooky.
Yes.
So anyway, so tell us what it's like to play one, because I know magicians are cool.
It's awesome.
Isn't everything in Earthdawn awesome? I know.
Most of it is.
Most of it is, yeah.
It is certainly great, if not awesome. No, playing a Nethermancer is fun. There is something, if you're like goth, if you're like into the spooky, creepy,
the weird,
offbeat, unsettling, potentially antisocial type, the Nethermancer might be up your alley. They are especially useful in the grand scheme of things within the setting, but because of what they deal with, they tend to make people uncomfortable. And
so yeah, if you like to make people uncomfortable, play another Nethermancer.
Yeah. I mean, you can make people uncomfortable with any discipline, to be completely honest.
True.
But the Nethermancer is the one to go. Now, the name is significant, that it is Nethermancer and not Necromancer. A lot of people do come towards it with that attitude. Mm-hmm. And while Nethermancers do deal with death and spirits and the afterlife to a certain extent,
supernatural stuff.
They are not they are a spellcasting type that is frequently cast as the villain, but that is not necessarily the case.
Only because people hate and fear things they don't understand. So we're here to help you understand Nethermancers so that you'll A, want to play them, and B, know how to play them properly. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
I do think, I'm going to skip ahead real quick, they have the longest half magic ability I've seen in the 4th edition here, but we'll get there in a minute or so. That is the longest paragraph for half magic, I think, of any of the disciplines.
Yeah, Elementalist is about the same.
No, not even.
Well, Elementalist is close.
It's close, yeah. Word count.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, Nethermancers are huge.
Well, that's because, like, anytime you mention stuff that the Nethermancer deals with, you have to talk about spirits, horrors, horror constructs, undead. Like, there's a litany of stuff that they're kind of, that is in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, they're not necessarily jack of all trades. They're the jack of this really narrow focus of trades.
Yes.
So
jack of the spooky trades.
Yes, they do focus on the magic of the netherworlds, other planes, spirits, as you said, and they do present themselves as a little off, or I can't say disinterested sometimes, but sometimes just worried about something in the distance or the near future, or something that not everybody else is maybe aware of, and so they're always, I can't say, a little distant. Does that sound right?
They are aware, perhaps more than anybody, of the fleeting nature of life and existence, and how this one that we have is merely one aspect of it, and that there are things and realms and spaces beyond that draw their interest.
Yeah, so if you catch another Nethermancer looking far off into the distance, maybe not ask. Maybe not. So as with every spellcaster, the important attributes are, of course, going to be charisma and perception and willpower, but they've thrown charisma in as well for the Nethermancers.
Yeah, charisma, which might seem a little bit off because of the way that Nethermancers are perceived, but the charisma is kind of a secondary important stat because they deal with spirits and interacting with spirits and whatnot, as we discussed in our recent
Illusionists.
We discussed in our episode of, elementals as well, but also as we talked about in our recent episode about interaction tests and things like that, having a higher charisma might make it easier to strike deals or otherwise work with spirits, whether ones that you summon or that you find free roaming within the various places of Barsave.
Yeah, and looking at it now, actually only the Elementalist does not list charisma as an important attribute. The Wizard does, the Nethermancer does, and the Illusionist does. So, okay, I misspoke. My fault. Want to clear that one up?
Yeah, the Elementalist, I think, doesn't have it listed because they don't really have any talents that are based off of it, which is really what those important attribute lists are. Like, these are the ones, like, these are the talents that these are the attributes that many of their talents are based on.
Absolutely. I understand that. So the Karma Ritual, the Nethermancer drinks tea with the spirit servant or otherworldly creature and talks of life beyond this world. I love the fact that theirs is so calm, and for a Nethermancer who, as you said, might become off a little creepy or a little disturbing, they're just drinking tea. I love the fact that it's kind of a counterpoint to their persona or their presentation to the rest of the world.
It's very civilized. It is very
mannerly.
I mean, yes, you are doing it with, some kind of spirit or otherworldly creature, but it is still, as people from England and the UK will tell you, tea, the ritual of tea, is a
Japanese tea ceremony, especially,
or Japanese tea ceremony, things like that. That there is a kind of an important symbolic ritual significance to it, and I think having that as an aspect of the Nethermancer is kind of cool.
Yes, I agree. It doesn't necessarily go along with the geishas, who have to memorize and know that tea ceremony, but still very cool to have. And like I said, I like the dichotomy therein of the Karma Ritual. So the artisan skills, and this is of course just the first little glimpse of the tweaked nature of Nethermancers. The artisan skills recommended are, of course, robe embroidery, just for your spell matrices in the old days, or bone carving. Not wood carving, not runic carving, bone carving.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like I need to comment on that.
They're just a little pretty off. That's all.
Well.
Yeah.
I mean, the use of bones and things like that in magic and ceremony and ritual is something that is, while not necessarily common, is kind of widespread within to greater or lesser extents within historical cultures. I mean, you take a look at, to draw from European medieval culture, the importance and significance of bones of the saints, you know, places that would be holy sites because they would have a relic that was the finger bone of Saint somebody or other, or, things like that. And then kind of getting outside of that into other cultures, the bones being, what is left behind when all of the temporary flesh and meat has gone, the bones continue to stay for a long time.
Absolutely.
And, bones being, early on, broken, animal bones broken and sharpened to use as early weapons and things like that. There's a lot of, of ritual and symbolic meaning that can be bound up within bones. And you could even go so far as to have, as to have your grimoire be runes and sigils inscribed onto bones. Like, for example, the Chain of Skulls, which is a Nethermantic grimoire that is described in one of the early books. Yeah. Which is basically the top part of the skulls of the Nethermancer masters of this order, that when they died, the top part of their skull is taken and inscribed with the spells and such that they developed as part of this organization. And those are, all kind of changed together and passed on as a significant relic of this secret society. Yeah. My friend has a Tiskrang Nethermancer,
and he bought a special pair of D6 that actually are called bone dice. And he's got 2 D6 that are bone dice. And so anytime he casts a spell that is around that level to use any kind of D6s at all, he has to use those just because you can. So why not? So the half magic ability that I spoke of earlier is, like I said, incredibly long. Since you play one, how about you just paraphrase it instead of having me read from the text?
So the Nethermantic half magic is like most magicians, allows the Nethermancer to kind of recognize and understand various forms of magic. Obviously, Nethermantic magic, they would have an easier time than other schools, but they would be able to recognize that. Rituals, blood magic, all those sorts of things are right. But then on top of that, they have the potential to know about spirits and undead and horrors and horror constructs, because those are all part of the lore and knowledge that they would gain over the course of their career and their interactions and the things that they learn over the course of time. So they get all of that. And then, much like elementalists get a half magic ability to be able to sense the presence of elemental spirits in the area, Nethermancers can also detect the presence of ally spirits nearby through the use of their half magic.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the Game Master may choose to make this half magic test on behalf of the Nethermancer, as this innate sense is always on. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those, your spider sense is tingling, by the way.
and yet another reason why the Nethermancer might seem a little bit distant or distracted. He is noticing or paying attention to things that are not visible to
the naked eye.
Normal folk.
It reminds me of it's a Lovecraft adventure we ran in Call of Cthulhu, where after the whole thing was over, the only way you could possibly see the elder creatures was to be just a slightly bit tipsy. And so my character survived, one of very few, and I actually walked around all the time, just slightly tipsy, just so I could see them. So something along the lines of They Live, I guess. So anyway, good movie. Do we have any pop culture references we can think of for Nethermancers? Because we do this with everybody else. And I want to stop here real quick before we get... Because I can't honestly pull up anything other than I have a short story I came across once upon a time called On the Far Side of the Cadillac Desert with Dead Folk, written by Joe Lansdale.
Oh, Lansdale.
Other than that, I needed to get that in before I forgot about it. So I can't otherwise think of any that come to mind.
Well, there's an offbeat one that I want to mention that it wouldn't necessarily be considered a Nethermancer right offhand.
Fair.
But I think it plays into that theme. If you've ever seen The Frighteners by Lord of the Rings director guy.
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson, yes. I can't believe that. No. So Peter Jackson directed film The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox as a guy who has the ability to see ghosts.
I loved that movie.
It's a great movie. And it kind of, messes with his life in some respects.
Yeah.
He could be a take on another Mancer.
Yeah, he could cast some spells, but
he's an unwilling one. But he can't really cast spells, but there's the interaction with spirits and the realms beyond.
Yeah.
Let's see.
He'd be an initiate. He wouldn't get to first circle to cast spells just yet, so he's an initiate.
There are some, I could see taking some, again, not as magicians, but you could maybe take, characters who are interested in, the weird or the offbeat. I could see an argument being made for Fox Mulder to maybe be another Mancer from X-Files.
Totally.
Obviously he's not dealing with, but, I mean, the ghosts and
the
weird
undead,
stuff and things
he's dealing
like
with
that.
Spirits and supernatural.
Some of the characters from David Lynch stuff.
Fair.
Again, to go maybe half a step aside from Fox Mulder. Kyle MacLachlan's character in Twin Peaks.
Yeah. I'm thinking the characters
the
from the
FBI
TV show Supernatural. My friends watch it. I do not, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good one. You could argue that John Constantine of DC Comics and Hellraiser
totally
could be considered another Mancer, largely because of the association with the demons and kind of spirit world as that magician. Fair. I think if you had to pick one of the four, that would be what he is.
Cool.
You could probably find a lot of I was like, okay, maybe if you like, you have to go to like urban fantasy fiction.
Yeah.
Anita Blake, when she's, not being a sex fiend. But she's like, she raises zombies and stuff like that. So like there's some of that there.
Fair.
But like most of the time when you're talking about like pop culture presence of things that would be close to a Nethermancer, a lot of times you're looking at villains.
I want to say Hellboy, but I'm probably a little off base because it's been a while since I've read the comics and seen the movie. So
yeah, I would say probably not Hellboy himself so much, but perhaps his adoptive father.
Yeah, okay.
Would be more appropriate because he was more of the scholar magician student, whereas Hellboy largely just like shoots and punches stuff.
Which in Earthdawn you can do.
Which you can do in Earthdawn.
Yes. More so than most.
So yeah, no, that would be a thing. Thulsa Doom from the original Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan movie.
Yeah.
An argument could be made that he could perhaps be a Nethermancer.
Fair.
I part of the appeal, at least for me, of the Nethermancer is that it takes a common fantasy magical stereotype, that is to say the Necromancer,
yes,
and twists it a little bit and makes it something that is familiar but still its own thing. And that may be part of why, it's a lot more difficult perhaps to come up with like obvious pop culture references because of that, slightly different angle.
Agreed. So I figured we get to those real quick, just in case we hit upon something that we can talk about any one of those aspects on, because as you said, this is the Earthdawn twist on something kind of familiar. So let's dive in. First circle, and of course they get the durability of 3 because they're a spellcaster.
Yep. And the 2 free standard matrices.
Absolutely.
That's the standard starting allotment for any of the magician disciplines. The versatility and flexibility that being a magician brings to the table, in that you've got spells that allow you to do different things based on your loadout and what you want to accomplish. Whereas, a more traditional martial discipline like a warrior or a sword master or even a troubadour or somebody like that is largely limited by their talent selection. Magicians get this whole other batch of stuff that comes along. And so they, don't get the physical sustainability, through the durability. That also kind of plays into this stereotype of the magicians being less physically potent and whatnot.
Yes. So I'm going to skip to the end real quick just so we can get them out of the way. Of course, your first circle discipline talents are going to be spellcasting and thread weaving.
Yep.
We're just going to cover those because
and pattern craft as well.
Pattern craft. That's how you learn magic.
Well, so pattern craft, spellcasting, thread weaving, the 3, like if you are a magician, those are like all magicians get those in their first circle discipline talents because you need them to be able to learn spells, prepare spells, and cast spells. Since spells are your thing, you need all of those.
Yes. So we'll get right through those and to your other 2 discipline talents, astral sight, which of course they're not the only ones who get astral sight, but I think they get it earlier than most.
Yeah. Wizards get it. Get it discipline at second circle, but Nethermancers get it discipline at first, which makes sense, again, given their focus and emphasis on astral space and the residents there and the netherworlds and things like that. The wizard's astral sight is more to examine like spell patterns and magical stuff, whereas opposed to the Nethermancers. Yeah.
And then the last one, because we already covered pattern craft, spellcasting, thread weaving, is Frighten, which again kind of leads to their I'm a little off as I present myself to the world nature.
Frighten is a potent debuff. You basically creep the heck out of people, imposing penalties on them as a result of successful mystic defense targeting. It's actually potentially more potent than taunt in its way.
Ooh, nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. The taunt provides test penalties and bonus and penalties to social defense. Frighten doesn't affect defenses at all, but it actually does provide penalties to all tests
for a little
against
while.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and Frighten does have the potential to be shaken off through the use of just raw willpower tests or talents like Heartening Laugh or Lionheart, which become available sort of later on. But yeah, Frighten. Virag does not use Frighten very often, largely because there's other stuff. And my imagining of her is that she is less of the sort of playing against type and being less of the spooky, intense, intimidating Nethermancer.
Yeah.
But when she's
already a troll.
She's already a troll. But like pulling out the Frighten is in a way kind of pulling out the big guns.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
but it is a very potent and a very useful talent, because that is actually in a way a good defensive talent for a Nethermancer. The drawback that Frighten has is that it does take your action, but if you use it against somebody who is trying to come and attack you and you succeed, they will have a harder time hitting you.
Yeah, because they're automatically to -2 and stuff.
Right, but the Nethermancer gets a couple of spells that synergize, that are intentionally designed to synergize really well with the Frighten talent.
Yes.
Death's Head spell, which allows you to
spell.
basically change Frighten from a standard action to a simple action.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's Fog of Fear allows you to use a single Frighten test to affect multiple people.
Yeah. It's built in there for a reason at first circle.
Oh, it's a great talent. I honestly don't use it so much, in part because Virag is kind of built as a pseudo wizard Nethermancer.
Fair.
A lot of the optional talents that we'll go through I picked up because I also like wizards and what they can do with magic really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't use Frighten very much.
It's okay. I was seeing this look on your face like maybe I should use that more often now that I think about it.
Well, the drawback to Frighten is
the ponderance.
Well, the one of the drawbacks to Frighten is that typically undead and horrors and horror constructs are immune to fear.
Exactly.
And so therefore, Frighten is used against normal folks, and you use other stuff against the horrors.
Yeah. So okay, a second circle. They got a +1, of course, to their mystic defense.
Pretty obvious for magicians. That's, I think, pretty standard.
Yes, as we've mentioned before. And then, of course, second circle, Steal Thought, because you gotta have that eventually.
Right. Steal Thought is a great talent. It is one of the active defenses. It is the one that allows, basically, if an attack targets the magician's mystic defense, then you can roll Steal Thought to try and bolster yourself to avoid the effect of whatever it is at the last moment, similar to the way that you would use Avoid Blow to try and dodge or parry a physical attack.
Yeah, Steal Thought is one of the most beautiful inventions of this game ever. So, and I can't say that enough on any time we talk about it. There you are. Moving on to third circle. So the Nethermancer finally gets to use a point of karma once per round on any test against a horror construct, or undead target.
Yep.
So yeah,
they become more effective against those things.
Yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Exactly. I know what you are. I know how to take care of you. And then Spirit Talk as your discipline talent.
Yes, this is similar to the Elementalist ability, Elemental Tongues.
Mm-hmm.
The difference being that this one allows you to speak to ally spirits, which are the Nethermancer's spirit type.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows you to communicate with any kind of ally spirit or entity, even those who might not normally speak your language or don't communicate verbally. It basically allows you to effectively communicate with stuff like that.
Yeah, wood spirits, wind spirits, but as you said, ally spirits are the primary focus.
Yeah, I mean, wind spirits are elementals and so would not be subject to this.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, basically, like if there is a spirit that for some reason, doesn't actually have the ability to speak, or doesn't know, or it's the ghost of an old adventurer who speaks a different language, the talent allows the Nethermancer to still be able to communicate with them.
Cool. Because, of course, then you get that at third circle, and at fourth circle, you get Spirit Hold as your discipline talent.
Which is, again, the ally spirit equivalent to elemental hold, where you can basically have a spirit, an ally spirit, basically hold it in place and
keep them
force
around.
it to stay put and listen to you. And also at 4th circle, you get a bonus to social defense.
Exactly. So Mystic and Social, right then and there. So first 4 circles, again, those are all discipline talents, and there's nothing that I can find to poke holes in that needed to be replaced. Because spirits are their thing. Steel Thought is, oh, yeah, baby, got to have that there. Astral Sight and
Steel
Frighten.
Thought is great. Astral Sight and Frighten,
Yeah,
it's a really, I mean, it is the selection of abilities that lines up pretty well.
Yeah. So now we get to the options, and this is where Virag got to have some fun, per se.
Yes.
So we'll begin with Arcane Mutterings, which is the a la peanut butter sandwiches of...
Yeah, we've talked about this. I think all magicians get this as an option. It just basically allows you to distract or unsettle the target. I think it is sort of archetypally more of a wizard / nethermancer talent than it would be an elementalist or illusionist, just because the Nethermancers version of it would be much more of the sort of spooky chanting and dire portents, whereas the wizard would largely, I suspect, be kind of talking around them and using technobabble and things like that.
No, to confirm, every single magician, as you said, gets Arcane Mutterings as an option. So
pretty sure
they all have a chance to get them. And no, you're correct. I'm flipping through the books as fast as I can. Avoid Blow, because it never hurts for a magician to get out of the way of something.
It never hurts to have it as an option. It's probably not super high on the choice list, because you've got Frighten that you can use to dissuade people from attacking you in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like many of the sort of active defense talents, it's a good one to just kind of have in most characters' pools just as an option to take if you are going to have somebody who for some reason is going to be having a character that is going to be in close range scrapping it up somehow.
Yeah, because I've had people play them in a smaller party, and so they've needed to have Avoid Blow, and they haven't.
Yeah.
But now...
And it also works well because the Nethermancer gets Shield Mist, which is a spell, I think, at 1st circle, that basically enhances their Avoid Blow ability.
Yeah.
It provides a bonus to Avoid Blow, so that's, that kind of synergizes well with that, but
absolutely.
Virag did not take it. Virag has Avoid Blow as a skill.
So you can't use Karma on it.
No, but that's fine. If I'm with the size of our group and the combat, like sort of frontline combat capability that we've got. Yeah. The Avoid Blow is, okay, I have Shield Mist up, and so I've got it at effectively like step 11 or so.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at.
For Avoid Blow, which is,
pretty good.
It's the sort of, I will toss it out if I need to, but we're getting to the point now where even that, I think, might not be high enough. Admittedly, I think Virag's physical defense is the lowest of her stats.
Fair enough. But again, you should not be mixing it up in live and in person. On to Awareness.
Awareness, you've got a character who's got perception as an important attribute. Awareness is another, really kind of broadly useful all-around talent. Again, one that I ended up taking the skill version of it for Virag to get a rank or 2 so that I would have 2d6. Actually, I think I'm up to now d8, d6 for Virag's Awareness. Mm-hmm. But we had, our group, we had a scout.
Yes.
I don't need to take Awareness. No. My awareness is astral sight. I've got that really high. I do the awareness in the astral space.
Yes.
The regular awareness is more like scouts and things like that.
Yeah, let those folks do their job. You'll do your job. And
right.
as you said, the Nethermancer, astral sight's the talent.
Again, it's
the discipline talent.
It is a potentially very useful. It is a potentially useful talent. So it is in their pool.
Yeah, if you're walking around as the only person who can actually notice things, then sure, take up awareness as a Nethermancer, but still, hopefully someone else.
Again, these are things that you would want to potentially take depending on your group makeup and various roles that people might fill and stuff.
Yeah, and then one of the more fun ones that I don't think we've actually talked about at all.
I think they're the only ones that get it.
Command Nightflyer.
Command Nightflyer.
Yeah.
Virag took this for There's a couple of reasons that Virag took this, and that is because there are a few spells that basically require you to have the talent if you want to use them.
Oh, fair enough.
There's Nightflyer's Cloak, which allows you to take the form of a Nightflyer.
Yes.
If you have the command Nightflyer talent, then you can basically shapeshift into a Nightflyer, whether that is a krillworm or a bat or an owl. And Virag has used that ability to save her own life. In fact, in a one of the recent Legends episodes that went up, Virag got knocked off of an airship and happened to have Nightflyer's cloak in a matrix and changed into an owl as she was falling, and so managed to avoid dying. There's so that's useful to have. Nightflyers in general, like the command Nightflyer ability, there's some other spells that tie into it, and krillworms and bats and owls and things like that. It kind of does a little bit of a spooky Beastmaster kind of thing.
Yeah,
that goes along with it. It's cool.
It's a nice little twist. Because it's not necessarily just undead and spirits. This is a nice little twist of things that creep around in the shadows.
Yeah, it's dominate beast, but only for creepy nighttime stuff.
Yeah,
bats and
nocturnal
owls
things.
And krillworms and nocturnal flying things.
So it's very I can't say shoehorned, but it's very narrow focused.
Yeah.
Pigeonholed. That's the word I was looking for. Pigeonholed. Dispel magic, because of course that's just an obvious thing you'd like to have.
Yeah, this is it is not core to the Nethermancer, but like many magician disciplines, it makes sense if you're going to have somebody that is going for a more scholastic, scholarly, pseudo-wizard type approach like Virag.
Mm-hmm.
Having Dispel Magic can be very handy.
Yeah, because wizards get it at first circle as a discipline talent.
Yeah, wizards get it as a discipline talent. Everybody else gets it as an option.
Yeah.
I think. And it can come in handy.
Yeah, it's dispelling magic, for pity's sakes. Yes, elementalists get it as a journeyman talent option.
Okay. Illusionists, I think, get it at novice.
Illusionists also get it as a journeyman talent.
Oh, is it journeyman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Staring right at it. Page 99. Dispel magic, journeyman talent for illusionist.
Yeah, you're right.
So Nethermancers get it as a novice talent option. So wizards get it as a discipline talent, and Nethermancers get it as an option.
As a novice option. Yeah. Virag did take Dispel Magic again because I like that stuff that wizards can do to mess with that. And so I think I took it as my second circle discipline talent, my second circle option, because at first circle I took another matrix.
Fair.
Because I like having spells.
Oh, no kidding. But I like the fact that having Dispel Magic so early in the progression as an option for Nethermancers just is that I'm just going to mess with you in ways you don't want me to mess with you. Because that's what Nethermancers, I think, are about.
Yeah.
But that's me personally. Of course, you have the option for read and write language.
Yep. Useful if you're going to be care diving and looking into old tomes and trying to find out information out of old books and things like that. Again, maybe slanted a little bit more toward the scholarly and research angle of things.
Yes.
But read and write language was a standard talent available to all magicians in earlier editions. And so it is in there as an option for the Nethermancers.
Yes. And even with the overhaul that 4th edition is, I still find it just right up the alley of all the spellcasters who are more learned than most as far as reading is concerned, and history and things like that. So read and write language makes sense to me, as well as speak language, because...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you might be talking to the spirits of ancient orcs in Carafad, or any number of other things dealing with beings that are not subject necessarily to the spirit talk talent, but you might still want to be able to communicate with, and being able to do so can be
beneficial,
useful.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, there's another standard matrix in there.
Standard matrix. That's in case you want one, which you don't need to. Especially if you're going to be looking at using spell matrix items and whatnot. Yeah. But that allows you to potentially have 3 spells banked and ready to go at first circle
instead of just 2,
which can be handy.
Yeah, it's a 50% bonus on that one.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your approach, it might be something that you wait until a little bit later in your progression. It's possible, depending on the game, that you might not need to take the talent at all if there's other stuff that you want to do. So.
Absolutely. Because, again, avoid blow is a good thing. Just kidding. 2 left in the talent options for novice level. Stealthy Stride.
Yep. Spooky shadow sneaking around, being quiet.
And creepy.
Yeah, that's kind of why that's in there.
Noisy and creepy is not a thing. Quiet and creepy is a thing.
Yeah, quiet and creepy. Being kind of ghostly and the association with shadows and things like that.
Things that go bump in the night.
Kind of goes along with that.
Yeah. So most of these that we've listed off have been I can't say generic, but they've been options for a lot of other disciplines. Suppress Curse.
Suppress Curse kind of goes along the lines with Dispel Magic.
Yes.
As being something that is like kind of messes with magical stuff. Really a bit more flavorful for Nethermancers compared to Dispel Magic, because Suppress Curse is the one that allows you to at least temporarily get rid of any kind of negative magical effect that might be affecting someone. Yeah. Whereas Dispel Magic can only affect spells and talents. Suppress Curse can do anything. And when you're going to be dealing with undead and horrors and the negative stuff that they might bring to bear, Dispel Magic will not work, but Suppress Curse would.
Yeah. And
that is the other optional talent that Virag has, is Suppress Curse. I think it was Dispel Magic at second and Suppress Curse at third.
There you go.
And I finally broke down and picked up Command Nightflyer at fourth so I could get those cool spells.
Absolutely, because weaponsmiths don't get Suppress Curse until third circle as a discipline talent. But Nethermancers get it as an option if you want, first, second, third.
Right.
Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So a very solid framework to build on for your first four circles for Nethermancers.
You kind of are looking at with the Nethermancer, the options. Are you going to be going with a sort of more spell and magic focused direction where you take an additional matrix, Dispel Magic, Suppress Curse, Command Nightflyer because it gives you access to some cool spells? Are you going to go maybe a little bit more scholarly with the language talents? Are you going to make yourself perhaps a little bit more survivable with like Avoid Blow, awareness? Arcane Mutterings is nice as a good kind of social aspect. Nethermancers don't tend to be social the way that troubadours or swordmasters or weaponsmiths tend to be, but they can kind of, if need be, go into a little bit of the social game. Not a huge amount, but no. Arcane Mutterings is one of those things that's kind of along those lines.
Yeah, since we just talked about interactions, I'd start off most Nethermancers like maybe one step lower on the interaction test because they're going to come off as just creepy. Depending on how they present themselves, but that's just me. Okay, moving on to fifth circle, where, again, a lot of things happen to a lot of disciplines at fifth circle.
Yep.
So when you finally get there and hit that plateau, they get another free talent, which is the Adept's free standard matrix is upgraded to an enhanced matrix.
Yes, one of them.
And that'll hold a thread, correct?
Yes,
Making sure I get that right, because this is our fourth time through this one, so yeah. Making sure I remember that correctly. I always have to look at the matrix types. That's just me. And of course, they get a karma ability. I'm going to skip one. They get the ability to spend karma to increase the target's penalty from a spell you're casting by 2.
Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, the first circle Nethermancer spell Spirit Dart imposes a penalty to Mystic Armor. Flipping to it in the book, I'm pretty sure it reduces Mystic Armor.
You are correct.
Okay, so it normally does a -2 to Mystic Armor. You could spend a karma point to increase that penalty from 2 to 4.
Yeah, done.
And there are other talents, obviously, that apply penalties and whatnot, but that's
as long
what
as the
intent
hits.
is for that.
Yeah, yada, yada, yada. So the spell has to hit first. Otherwise, spend the extra point of karma. It's worth everything for a +2 is if you take their defense that way. That's just hard to do otherwise. Then they get Blood Summon, which again, just sounds creepy.
Yep.
The adept may take blood magic damage equal to the strength rating of a spirit being summoned to gain an extra success on a summon test.
Yep. Because the result of the summon test determines... I don't remember now off the top of my head.
Not something Virag has done often.
Virag has actually not done it very often. 1 hour per success. Okay, so, yeah. Taking that blood magic damage, the Nethermancer can guarantee that the spirit sticks around longer. Basically, 1 success on the summon test has the spirit stay for an hour. Each additional success is an additional hour. So by taking that blood magic damage, the Nethermancer can make the spirit show up for 2 hours minimum, even longer if they roll higher.
And do whatever is needed at the time. So that is conjuring help. Because, of course,
yes,
to go along with blood summon, your discipline talent is summon ally spirits.
Right. And
So,
this basically allows the Nethermancer to perform a ritual that allows them to call a spirit from the netherworlds to perform a service for them.
Yeah. And we'll get into summoning and spirits in another episode.
In another episode, yeah.
It's slated. I have it in there somewhere. So at 5th circle, they get the talent bump from standard to enhanced matrix. They get the karma to increase the target's penalty from a spell you're casting. They get the blood summon ability to take.
They get the discipline
talent
power,
to summon ally spirits.
And the ability to summon spirits.
And then of course you get an option in there as well. So really you get 5 things at 5th circle.
Yeah, fifth circle is
get
the
there.
Big, yeah, 5th circle is big for everybody. Gets a bunch of stuff at 5th circle once you hit that journeyman tier.
Oh, absolutely. So 6th circle is kind of a letdown.
Then we move on to 6th circle.
It's kind of a letdown.
Well, no,
because you get another bonus to your mystic defense.
No, because you get another bonus to mystic defense, which is nice. But you also get will force,
which is the badassness of spellcasting.
Which is the damage, sort of the damage and effect boosting ability for magicians.
This is
this is where this is where the real oomph for your spells comes into play.
Exactly. And I love Will Force. It is fantastic. 7th circle, they get another bonus to their mystic defense, now up to...
Nope. They get the bonus to their mystic
armor. I'm sorry. I did read that incorrectly. My eyes went back up to 6th circle. So now they get a bonus to mystic armor. This is not the only spellcasting discipline to get that, correct?
In the first 8 circles...
I want to say...
Wizard... Wizard gets it at 7th as well.
Yes,
but,
okay.
Elementalist and Illusionist do not.
Right. In my book, it's actually bolded under Wizard, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed that as well.
But then they get the really cool discipline talent of Orbiting Spy.
Orbiting Spy, which is basically a specific summon talent. Like, it basically summons a spirit that floats up in the air and provides a bonus to you noticing stuff. Again, maybe not so necessary, perhaps, to take awareness because of that.
Well, you can take awareness until you get to 7th circle, then kind of discard it. But it's a while before you get to 7th.
Basically, you use the Orbiting Spy step as the perception step for the spirit.
Yes.
And it lasts for 1 hour per success against a difficulty 6 test.
Yeah, that's not too hard to roll.
And it can see into the astral plane as well as the physical world.
Which is awesome.
Which is helpful. Considering that at least for the time being, our scout, the player had to drop out for a bit, and we don't really have a scout anymore.
I have a
Orbiting
scout.
Spy actually just became Orbiting Spy just became available to Virag since she just reached 7th circle. That is going to be
very helpful.
That's going to be handy.
Yes. So you don't need me to hop in and play my scout in your game because you've got Orbiting Spy now. I see.
I've got a ghosty scout.
I've been replaced.
Scout.
I've already been replaced.
Got a ghost scout.
Before I could be recruited, I was replaced. Just teasing. So 8th circle, you get another bonus to your mystic defense, adding to a +3 at the moment.
Bringing a total to a +3.
They'll get a +1 social, +3 mystic, and a +1 mystic armor. So they get a 3 and a 1 and a 1.
Well, it's the 3-1. It's the 3-1 standard defense bonuses that you see on everybody except the Swordmaster.
Yes. So and
then you get Hold Thread, which is the standard magician 8th circle talent for everybody except wizards, because wizards get it at 7th, which basically allows you to do a thread and within certain restrictions kind of hold that thread ready. So if you don't want to cast the spell right away, you don't necessarily lose it and have to reweave the thread.
Yeah, you just kind of hold it in place for when you need it. So snap your fingers and go. So I don't see anything as far as discipline talents to argue with, because Summon, Will Force, Orbiting Spy is just cool, and Hold Thread because those are all standard wizard or standard spellcaster things to have. So let's go down the options.
With a cup, and obviously you get the Nethermancer specific stuff with their Summon and Orbiting Spy, and then you get your standard kind of magician spellcasting boosts from Will Force and Hold Thread.
Yeah. So the options we can go through are astral interference, because of course if you can see into the astral plane.
Yep. Well, this was a talent created mainly for wizards that allows them to throw down like an interference pattern to make it more difficult for anybody to cast spells within the area.
Yeah. Again, Nethermancers are just I'm going to disrupt your stuff.
Yeah, wizards get a spell called Baseline Subtraction that allows them to get around the interference of of astral interference, which is a discipline talent for wizards at 5th Circle. Nethermancers get it because with their familiarity and understanding of astral space, it makes sense that they would potentially be able to throw down that field, but it affects them just as much as it affects everybody else.
I can see the escalating
Whereas
arms
wizards
race.
have a way of getting around that.
I can see the escalating arms race between wizards and Nethermancers in that case. So my wizard says, nay, banish. Because, of course, if you can summon,
banish,
you should be able to banish.
Yeah, you can summon, you should be able to banish, but it's an option because you might not, depending on how you approach your interactions with spirits, you might not need to do that. It doesn't work against horrors and horror constructs or those sorts of things. Yeah. Just works against spirits.
It's kind of like having all fire spells.
It's something, I mean, if you've got, if you've got, if you're going to be dealing with spirits, perhaps that is something that would be useful as an option.
Well, it's kind of like having all fire spells and no snuff. So
Virag has it.
Blood share.
Blood share, that kind of plays into the blood magic theme. That's one that is normally looked at for cavalrymen and beastmasters, where you can share damage, draw damage from a mount or ally onto yourself and potentially go the other way. Optional for Nethermancers just because of the whole blood magic kind of thing that is kind of thematic for them.
And a little creepy, you have to admit.
A little bit, yeah.
But that's why it's
creepy.
There. That's why it's there.
But that's why, that is why it's
exactly.
there.
And again, an enhanced matrix.
Another matrix. Virag took enhanced matrix as her 5th Circle option because
she likes to have
I
spells.
like taking matrices.
Yes,
I like to have spells. Took banish as 6th Circle, and I think I took Lionheart as 7th, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah. So enhanced matrix obviously speaks for itself, as we mentioned, because one of your standard gets upgraded to enhanced at 5th Circle, and then Life Sight.
Life Sight is a talent that is a specialization type of thing of astral sight. That basically allows you to see living things, and it has the advantage that astral sight can't really see through stuff. Life sight can allow you to see living things that might be hidden behind a non-living thing.
Nice.
So potentially with life sight, if like a thief is hiding behind a wall or around a corner or something like that,
in a wardrobe
or in a chest, life sight could potentially see them. And that would be one, and it can also, I think, provide information about the relative health
and vitality
and well-being of the person and vitality of the person that you're seeing.
Yes.
So if you're taking someone as a Nethermancer, this is actually something that doesn't really crop up much in their talent distribution until now, but Nethermancers do have have a common secondary approach of people taking physician, or often being the sort of healer. They get a couple of really, really nice healing spells. They get Last Chance.
Oh, yeah.
A spell that can potentially bring people back from the dead. They get Recovery as a higher circle spell that gives people a bonus to recovery tests. They get Aspect of the Cruel Physician, which is a healing spell with a cost. So it's because of their association with life and death and magic and blood and things like that, it is not uncommon for them to have kind of a healing or physician-y approach as well, and Life Sight kind of plays into that theme.
Cool. I all of a sudden want to make an orc named Kev for my Nethermancer. That way he's Kevorkian. Really bad joke, had to say it. Sorry, had to go there. Then yes, moving on to Lionheart.
Lionheart, this is a anti-fear ability. It is common for if you are playing with talent crisis type rules. It is not uncommon for Nethermancers to suffer a talent crisis if they succumb to fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings eternal sleep. I think I might not be getting that exactly right, but it's close. And so Lionheart, especially where
I cause fear, I don't feel fear.
Yeah, Lionheart is useful just as a way of boosting against any kind of fear or intimidation effect.
Yeah, always good. Research, because again,
if you're going to be going with a more scholarly sort of leaning more towards the wizard scholarly magical type, it might be worthwhile to have as you go digging in through libraries and collections of ancient tomes to learn information about astral denizens and the nether realms and things like that.
Yeah, if you'd like to be able to read from the Book of the Dead in the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, then yes, research.
Well, that would be read and write language.
Well, there's that.
If you want to be able to find the Book of the Dead amongst a whole bunch of other books and scrolls, that would be research.
Better said. Yes. Spirit Mount, because that's just freaking cool for a Nethermancer to have.
Because it allows you to summon a ghost horse that you can ride.
That's just awesome.
Which is awesome.
Just got to play a little awesome today.
I haven't decided yet what I might take from my 8-circle option, because I'm not there yet. But I was looking long and hard at whether I wanted to take Spirit Mount as my option at 7th. But no, Spirit Mount is cool. The only drawback to Spirit Mount is that it isn't particularly durable.
Fair.
But that's okay, because once it's gone, you can call it back. It's not...
Would it have saved you falling off of the airship, though?
I don't think so, because it can't fly.
Okay. Wanted to double check.
I think I know maybe in previous editions there were knacks that allowed you to have the Spirit Mount be able to fly or like ride over water, which it normally can't do.
Fair.
But yeah, I think you need to... I don't know if those are in 4th offhand and whether they... like what rank they're available at. So no, because of the circle that I was at the time,
it was not going to save you.
It would not have helped me. I don't.
Fair. How would the double check?
Besides, it's more cool to turn into a giant snowy owl.
Absolutely, I'm okay with that. Yeah, Spirit Mount. We'll get to next in another show. It's coming up soon.
Yeah, we'll get into next another time.
Steely Stare.
Steely Stare, this is commonly seen as a Sky Raider talent. Mm-hmm. Sky Raider, who we actually have not talked about, one of the few that we have not gotten to yet.
We'll get there.
But this is along the lines with Frighten.
Yes.
This is basically like an intimidation test. The difference being that this targets social defense, where instead of mystic defense, and it doesn't apply penalties. It just prevents the target from doing anything against the adept. This is basically like the, shoot them the look and they kind of they won't.
This is the mom look. You know you're in trouble when your mom gives you this look from across the room. You should stop doing whatever you're doing.
Admittedly for Virag, this might be very appropriate.
Since she's the den mom.
But there was other stuff that I wanted instead.
Yeah. So you'll get back to this one. And then, of course, Tenacious Weave, because that's just...
Tenacious Weave, yeah, that's the one that allows you to boost the dispel difficulty of your spells. Since Nethermancers don't have a lot of long-term buffs or enhancements, they have some, and so, Tenacious Weave is worthwhile. But it's, it kind of plays into the theme that you have similar to like Dispel Magic and Suppress Curse and things like that can enhance your spell casting and magical manipulation ability.
Yeah. So I think it makes for all of those options make for a very well-rounded version of whatever Nethermancer you have in mind to play. Because you can mix and match.
You have the ability to fill in a little bit some of the again, depending on the style of campaign and what sorts of encounters and stuff that you're going to be having.
And the makeup of your party.
There are things in there that can be worthwhile for a lot of groups. If you don't have a troubadour, for example, you could look at picking up the read and write language to be able to read stuff that normally the troubadour might default to doing.
Yeah. Got some research in there, maybe, if you want to be more scholarly, as you said.
Research or, or if you're going up against a lot of, like, name-giver adepts and groups and stuff like that, you're in a kind of a more of an urban or city-based game. Dispel Magic, speak language, things like that could come in handy in those. There's a few different approaches, but all of them ultimately play into the core discipline abilities of the Nethermancer are all about the strength of will, kind of spooky aspect of things.
No, I'm okay with that. How do you think they compare?
I'm totally
I know you're okay with that because you play one. How do you think they compare to a 1st or 2nd or 3rd edition Nethermancer now that we've got 4th edition, the first 8 circles run through? Do they feel any handicapped? Are they more broadened? Are they a little bit more buff than they used to be? Or what's your feeling on that?
I really did not play a whole lot of Nethermancers in earlier editions, mainly because I kind of game mastered a lot.
Fair.
I think that the options that you have available allow a little bit more flexibility in terms of the style that you're going with. Again, Virag was sort of conceived a little bit against type and not being quite so like spooky and standoffish.
Yeah.
Kind of conceived of her as a little bit more social and enjoying the finer things in life, because she understands that, when this is done, you move on to other things, but you should enjoy the time that you've got now. Mm-hmm. And so there's that aspect of it, but also leaning into the wizard style a little bit, because I really like those wizard abilities to mess with magic and, dispel magic and suppress curse
totally.
and things like that, to go into the more like scholarly, I know things about magic
mm-hmm.
kind of approach, which plays into my strengths as someone who has done a lot of work like playing in the magic system, both as a player and a designer and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. So fair enough. Any final thoughts?
I think that Nethermancers are really, really cool. I have been having a lot of fun playing one in the Legends of Earthdawn podcast, and I look forward to continuing to play her now that she is 7th Circle.
Absolutely.
I think that some of the stuff that I said with regards to the Elementalist holds true for the Nethermancer as well, with regards to spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you've got... It's not strictly required, but I think if you've got a Nethermancer in your game and you're a game master, you probably want to look at spirits and maybe having more like free roaming spirits and stuff as things that they can encounter and interact with and deal with in their earlier circles before they get into 5th Circle and the actual ability to summon them. So, that's something to keep in mind. I am reluctant to encourage game masters to be nasty about people not wanting to deal with Nethermancers because of their reputation within the setting.
Fair.
But that is something that you should work out and like talk about with your player if they're making a Nethermancer character.
Yeah.
Like how hard a time do you want to have of it?
Fair. Yeah, because these are all meant to be heroes. So Nethermancers are heroes in building a heroic legend as well. So, but anybody can be a bad guy if they really want to be an NPC that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nethermancers do make fantastic stereotypical villains in some respects because of the association with horrors and undead and horror constructs. Mm-hmm. It is very easy to have them be bad guys.
Yeah.
And also their kind of social reputation and social position in the setting can make them, like, because of their focus and study of distant places, of distant realms and other planes and dimensions, might make them a little bit callous or unfeeling about, people in the regular world.
The living.
Yeah.
No,
I think Nethermancers are great. They are tied with wizards for my favorite magician discipline.
Fair.
Just because of the role playing and the cool stuff that you can do with them.
I agree. I have a wizard and I like him a lot. So never made another Nethermancer, but I've run one or two of them through the setting, so they're always fun to play. But other than that, we'll get to the higher circles of Nethermancers in an episode further down the road, as people do with all the other disciplines.
We'll talk about their spells. We actually talked more about the Nethermancer spells in this episode than we talked about the spells for any of the other disciplines in theirs, mainly because I know
those
spells having been playing a Nethermancer and
yes.
and the interactions there.
So a little bonus,
and also because the wizard gets a couple of spells that tie into Astral Sight. The Nethermancer gets spells that tie into Frighten and Command Nightflyer.
Yeah.
So, those are things I think that deserve mention when you're talking about those talents, so that people are aware of their existence.
Yeah. So when you pick those talents, go pick those spells at the same time, and really one can play off the next, and you can stack all that stuff up and really look more badass than usual. Otherwise, folks, that kind of kills this hour for us. So I think I can't say beat Nethermancers to death, but we got close. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to email us at edsgpodcast@gmail.com. Any final thoughts, Josh?
And as always, like, share, subscribe.
Make the algorithm work. Oh, and welcome to 10,000 plays for you and me.
Yes, since the last recording session, we have now had 10,000 plays / downloads according to the metrics from the site. Which is cool. We are coming up on actually almost a year since we started.
Yes.
Here before too much longer.
We're going to try not to run out of content.
I don't think we're in any immediate danger of that,
No.
but we might have to start thinking about we're coming up on a year. Maybe we can like find something special to do.
Charge money?
Or something.
No. Kidding.
Well,
I'm having fun.
Yeah, I'm having fun too. You know, it's anyway. No,
Yeah.
So Facebook, Twitter, forums, Discord.
You know where to find
all
us
of those
by
places that I mention like every episode. You know where to find us, and if you don't, you're not looking hard enough.
Fair enough.
As Dan is fond of saying.
Absolutely. So until next time, it is time for you to go raise your legend from the undead. Maybe reclaim it. I don't know. Summon that ally spirit for your legend.
And your brother.
See you next time.
Good night, everybody.